Hello everyone, Catweazle here. Welcome to the channel and welcome back to our brand new playthrough, which is Arkham Horror the card game. Yes, Arkham Horror the LCG, where we're going to be doing a new campaign. The campaign is the Dunwich Legacy. It's been out for about a year, so I'm going to do it now. Didn't do it immediately because of spoilers and things, but more of that anon. So we're going to be doing the Dunwich Legacy. Now, anybody who knows anything about H.P. Lovecraft, the Dunwich Legacy is based a few months after his novel, The Dunwich Horror. Now, I won't spoil the novel for you. Suffice to say, 3 academics are involved in the Dunwich Horror. We're joining it a few months later, back in Arkham, and something's happened whereby Dunwich is once again under threat. So we've got to work out what's going on and then eventually make our way to Dunwich. So, as part of that, there are going to be spoilers. This particular living card game has a strong story element. You will get to know that story if you watch this playthrough. Therefore, if you do not want to know the story, if you do not want spoilers for this particular campaign, I recommend that you stop watching now. It will be chock full of spoilers. You have been warned. For those of you that are not bothered or perhaps have already played this, then we will carry on. I'm not going to be doing a detailed setup. If you go to one of my previous playlists, The Night of the Zealot, I do a detailed setup in the introduction and setup video for that particular campaign. So if you go back to that and watch that setup, watch about the first 20 or 30 minutes or so, I will go through things like the tokens and what everything does. I'm not going to do that in this video again. So what we'll do is we'll just carry on as if all that is read. Everybody knows what a chaos token is, what the chaos bag is, all that sort of palaver. So where does that lead us to? Well, just before we start the actual campaign itself, let's just go through a few things. I like to roleplay my games. Anybody who has watched any of my playthroughs, you know I get a bit involved. And for this particular playthrough, because it was a campaign playthrough, what I thought I'd do was we'd have a bit of fun and we'd roleplay a bit. So I was having to think about what angle to come at it from, and I just had an idea. Let's give the ladies a go, yeah? It's all very nice, you know, having your Jim Diamonds and your Mike McGlenns and your Skids O'Tooles and all this lot running around in Arkham, punching faces and stuff, but I thought, let's have a team of ladies. So I was having to think about it. I thought, well, it's the 1920s, what would it be? And I thought perhaps they'd have an Arkham Mystery Society, an Arkham Ladies Mystery Society. And then I thought, well, who'd be in it? I thought, well, obviously ladies, and I thought it'd be a good idea to have one from each class in the game. So I picked a Guardian, who's a sort of face puncher. I picked a Seeker, who's good for finding clues and stuff. A Rogue, who's good for stealing and sneaking around. And I also picked a Mystic, who's basically, you know, knows a lot about the arcane and casting spells. So I picked one of each. Now there is another class in Arkham Horror, the living card game, which is the Survivor class. And there isn't actually, well there is, there's one female survivor as it stands at the moment. There'll probably be more in the future, but as it stands at the moment there's a single female survivor who's Wendy Adams. But Wendy's a bit young for the Arkham Ladies Mystery Society. After all, they do go out and enjoy cocktails every Wednesday. So I didn't include Wendy as an Arkham Ladies Mystery Society member, but she may well make an appearance during this campaign. The first 2 scenarios, it's a bit difficult thematically to get Wendy in there, but as we get later on into the campaign, there are a couple of scenarios where Wendy could make an appearance. So here's Wendy Adams. You'll have seen her if you watch my Night of the Zealots playthrough. Her and Roland were in that. So Wendy, though she's not a full member of the Arkham Ladies Mystery Society, she may well make an appearance during this campaign. So that's Wendy. We'll put her to one side for the moment, however. Who are the actual members of the Arkham Ladies Mystery Society? Well, we've got Jenny Barnes, the dilettante, we have Agnes Baker, the waitress, we have Zoe Samaras, the chef, and last but by no means least, we have the lovely Daisy Walker, who is the librarian. And the conceit is they've sort of got together and they've been discussing the supernatural and paranormal things that have been going on in Arkham and Essex County, and they formed a bit of a society where they can go out, they can have a few drinks, a few cocktails, you know, ladies what do lunch, and talk about it and look to save Arkham from these beasts from beyond. So what we'll do is we'll play two-handed for each scenario, but we'll mix and match who is going to play. For our first scenario, we're actually going to have Daisy and Zoe. So I'll just put these here for the time being. We'll go through them in greater detail in a bit. I won't bother going through Agnes and Jenny. We'll do that when they actually get a scenario to themselves. Now, I've mentioned 5 investigators there that I'm sort of going to use as a pool. You're perfectly entitled to do that as part of the campaign, but there are a few restrictions on it. For example, if there are any unique cards and one of our investigators picks one up, I think an example in the Dunwich Legacy is the Necronomicon, not the version that Daisy's got. Daisy's got a version of the John Dee Necronomicon, but there is an original. There is an original version, the Abdul Al-Hazred version, and that is a unique, it's sort of a unique tome. There aren't any more in the game, so if somebody picks that up, then it sticks with that investigator. They can't hand it around. Yes, so anything like that, then whichever investigator picks it up, the other investigators can't suddenly like swapsy it around when it becomes one of their scenarios, so it stays with the investigator. Similarly, any XP or mental or physical trauma that they gain stays with the investigator. You cannot pool XP. The XP is with the investigator, so that stays the same for the duration of the campaign. So we'll keep track of that during the campaign and as we use investigators. Now, the start of the Dunwich Legacy, you've got 2 scenarios that you can do. When you got the big box at the start of the deluxe box at the start of the campaign, there are 2 campaigns included. One is Extracurricular Activity, which is based at Miskatonic University, and the other is The House Always Wins, which is based at the Clover Club, which is a sort of like speakeasy gambling joint. So what we're going to do is we are actually going to do The House Always Wins first. And the investigators that I've picked to do that are Daisy Walker and Zoe Samaras. Now, why have I picked Daisy and Zoe? Why haven't I picked, for example, Jenny Barnes? After all, it's a speakeasy. Well, Extracurricular Activity is at the university, and you'd think, similarly, you'd think, oh, well, why isn't Daisy Walker doing that particular scenario? Well, I think the ladies, having had a chat about what they're going to do, would have decided with Jenny and with Daisy that they didn't really want to go on their home turf. They'd get recognised, and perhaps it'd be best if they sent investigators that were not known to the places where they were going to investigate, so they could sort of go in a bit undercover. Jenny Barnes isn't going to be able to go into a speakeasy undercover any more than Daisy is going to be able to go to the Miskatonic University and not get recognised. So the whole idea is they're going to, you know, fly a bit under the radar, so that's why I've picked them in that fashion rather than picking horses for courses, as it were. Now, we are going to do The House Always Wins. I've done a bit of setup. I'll go through that in a minute. But first of all, I think what we'll do is we'll just go through the start of why they are actually starting this campaign. And that involves them having a chat with Dr. Henry Armitage. He was one of the academics who was actually involved in the Dunwich horror. So we'll flick across in the here we have the campaign guide. So let's have a read. So there is a prologue. Dr. Henry Armitage pours himself a glass of Pinot and sits down at his desk, gesturing for you to sit across from him. I apologise for the short notice, he begins. His face is pale, his forehead sweaty and wrinkled with worry. Armitage, the head librarian of Miskatonic University and a former mentor of yours, privately contacted you in the hopes of gaining your assistance. Eager to help, you made your way to his home in Southside. Upon entering, you were surprised to find his home in disarray. Books and notes litter his desk, and an empty bottle of wine has tipped over onto the ground by the fireplace. You'd always known Armitage to be neat and well organised. The elderly man takes a moment to collect his thoughts. I am looking for two of my colleagues, Dr. Francis Morgan, Professor of Archaeology, and Warren Rice, Professor of Languages. Warren was supposed to meet up with me over supper earlier today to discuss several important findings, but he has since gone missing. At first I thought nothing of it, but I have a nagging feeling something else is going on. A very familiar feeling. You've never seen Armitage quite this worried before. His hands tremble as he reaches for the glass on his desk, and he sips from it nervously. I tried to find Francis, hoping he knew where Warren was, but he too is out of touch. Francis has been spending a lot of time in some gambling den, or so I am told. I sent for you because I am worried Warren might be in trouble. I would appreciate it greatly if you could find him for me. You may also wish to ask Francis for help, if you can reach him. The investigators must decide. Choose one. Professor Warren Rice was last seen working late at night in the Humanities Department of Miskatonic University. Let's search for him there. Proceed with Scenario 1A, Extracurricular Activity, if you wish to find Professor Warren Rice first. Dr. Francis Morgan was last seen gambling at the Clover Club, an upscale speakeasy and gambling joint located downtown. Let's go and talk to him. Proceed with Scenario 1B, The House Always Wins, if you wish to find Dr. Morgan first. Well, we're going to find Dr. Morgan first, so that is Scenario 1B, which is The House Always Wins. So Dr. Armitage, probably through Daisy, because she's a librarian, he's the head librarian, has asked for the help of the Arkham Ladies Mystery Society. And the conceit is, on my part, that they've split up. So there's two things to do, and Daisy and Jenny, because they don't want to be recognised either at the university or at the speakeasy, they've sort of swapped places a little bit. And two of our investigators, Daisy and Zoe, are going to go to the Clover Club because Zoe wants to make sure that Daisy is okay. She knows Daisy is a bit of a milksop librarian, and Zoe feels a bit protective towards her, so she wants to make sure she doesn't come to any harm. And Agnes and Jenny are actually going to go to the university, and they're going to look for the other academic. But we'll start with The House Always Wins first, because I quite like it. That's all. I quite like The House Always Wins, so we'll play this one first. So what I've done is I have set up our ladies. Our lead investigator is going to be Zoe Samaras. She's here. You'll seen this sort of stuff previously. I just use D10s to track the health and sanity. I've already given them their resources. They've got 3 tokens here just for their actions, so I know where I'm up to. And I've also got some coloured, like, bingo tokens. There are places when, you know, you'll go to a location, you've got to mark that you've been there, for example, so I just use coloured tokens. I use blue here for Zoe because she's a guardian and blue is the guardian colour. Similarly for Daisy Walker, she's got yellow tokens because she is a seeker. I've built some decks for them both, which brings me on to something else. Deck building. I hate deck building. So what are you playing LCG for? Good question. In this for the actual story more than anything. Deck building, I know some people love it. It's one of the best parts of any sort of collectible card game or LCG or anything like that. They just love to sit there and they used to, you know, and they'll think about, oh, like I'll use this card and that card and this is how I'll deal with that situation, and they love it, and that's great. I'm not one of those people. I'm just playing it for the story, as I keep saying. So I pick my decks based on role-playing. So we could be seeing a lot of death or insanity. So I've picked these decks pretty much based on role-playing considerations. For example, Zoe, well, she's a bit of a nutter and she just wants to go around killing monsters. What have I used for a base of my decks? Well, I've used the recommended decks that FFG have put out. If you actually go onto the FFG site, there are recommended decks for each investigator. Now, those decks are by no means optimal. You'll get a load of people going, what the hell are you using those for? I've used them as a basis myself, but I have tweaked them a bit. What you've got to remember as well is I only have a single core set. So you're not going to find an investigator with 2 shrivelings here. They're only going to have 1. Similarly, Holy Rosary, there's only 1 of those, so I've got to pick who that goes to. In this particular case, I think I gave it to Daisy. I think Daisy's got Holy Rosary. But we're at a situation now in the life cycle of the card game where there are, you know, there are alternatives. So I mentioned Holy Rosary there. There is a alternative that I've used for Zoe Samaras, which is also a bit of a sanity soak, and it's quite thematic as well. So you'll see that shortly. But when it comes up, I'm not going to go through the decks. I may put up, you know, at the end of the video, I may put up a slide that you can actually stop if you want to have a look at the decks that I've built. Because I've only got a single core set, what I've had to do is, obviously one investigator will sort of back up the inadequacies of another investigator. Daisy is going to be our clue gatherer, whereas Zoe is going to be our face puncher. Zoe's job is to protect Daisy. Keep Daisy alive, obviously keep herself alive at the same time, and Daisy finds all the clues. Then they're going to get the hell out of Dodge once they've like completed the scenario, and hopefully they're all in one piece. So that's the plan. That helps to mitigate the fact that I don't have doubles of a lot of cards. Yeah? So in essence, Zoe is backing up Daisy and Daisy is backing up Zoe. So that's why I've picked these particular investigators for this particular scenario. Daisy's going to go in there, Daisy's going to try and find out the truth, while Zoe is trying to keep all the monsters off her back. Hopefully we'll be able to do it, we will see. But that's the plan, and that'll be the plan all the way through these scenarios. I'll pick out of the pool, I'll pick a couple of investigators that I think that can get the job done. Sometimes I may pick just because of role-playing considerations. I may pick a particular duo because I think it'll be fun, not because I think it will actually like win us that particular scenario. I'm thinking here of Wendy Adams. I have got a particular scenario in my mind for Wendy that I think will be quite fun. Whether, you know, I should do it or it's a sensible thing to do, well, you know, that's another question entirely. But the investigators we picked for The House Always Wins, which is the first one we're going to do, are Daisy and Zoe. Zoe is going to be our first investigator, so we'll quickly go through her. So this is Zoe Samaras, the chef. So she's got a willpower of 4, she has an intellect of 2, she has a strength of 4, and an agility of 2. She is a believer and a hunter, those are her traits. And as a reaction, after you become engaged with an enemy, gain a resource. So that'd be pretty cool, because we're hoping that she'll be dealing with all the enemies, so hopefully she'll be able to get quite a few resources. Her Elder Sign effect is +1. If this skill test is successful during an attack, then that attack deals +1 damage. This is great for a face puncher like Zoe, so fantastic. Got a bit of flavour text. God has spoken. I will do his work without hesitation. Quite right. Look at her. She is just going to take no prisoners whatsoever. She's completely hat stand. She has 9 health and 6 sanity. We'll pop this across. And here we've got her deck building options and a deck size. Her deck size is 30. Her deck building options are Guardian cards from level 0 to 5, neutral cards level 0 to 5, and up to 5 level 0 cards from any other class. So she's got quite a few survivor cards, for example. She is the only Dunwich Legacy investigator. The other 3 actually, well, the other 4 actually come from the base game, but these were the ones I liked. They're sort of my favourite female investigators out of Arkham Horror, the normal game. Deck building requirements that do not count towards her deck size. Her cross and smite the wicked, which is her weakness, and she will get a random basic weakness. We'll pull those shortly. Zoe had known that she was special ever since God spoke to her one night when she was 6 years old. The night that terrible fire took away her parents. He told her that he had chosen her from among all the people of the world to be his agent. She would protect the innocent and punish the wicked. Since then, he comes to her in times of trouble, offering guidance and comfort. Zoe now travels from city to city, taking work as a chef to support herself. When she isn't working, she stalks the night, guided by the Lord's voice. Wherever she finds wickedness, she strikes it down without remorse or hesitation. So that's Zoe. She's a nut. But she's a nut for good. So that is Zoe. And we'll just quickly go through. These are the only 2 cards I'll go through. You'll be able to see your cards as we play them. And as I say, I'll put up a list of what is actually in her deck. I'll put it at the end of the video. So here's Zoe's cross. It's a symbol of righteousness. It costs 1 to play it. And as far as icons, she's got 2 strength icons and a wild icon. It's for Zoe Samaras only. It's an item and charm. Those are its traits. And as a reaction, after an enemy becomes engaged with you, exhaust Zoe's cross and spend 1 resource. Deal 1 damage to that enemy. So this is great. Now it's an amulet. You're only allowed 1 amulet slot. She has got another amulet card, but you know that's only 2. So if we pick the other amulet card first and we get the cross, we can always like ditch the other one and promote this one. So that is her cross. Her weakness that she has is Smite the Wicked, which is a treachery, and it's a task. So revelation. So once it comes out, discard cards from the top of the encounter deck until an enemy is discarded. Attach Smite the Wicked to that enemy and spawn it at the location farthest from you. Forced. When the game ends, if attached enemy is still in play, you suffer 1 mental trauma. Now, this can be a really bad weakness. If you get it right at the end of the game, it can be really, really bad because you cannot get to the area where the actual enemy is and you end up with a mental trauma. But she has got, you know, it's... she's just so good, Zoe. You know, we're just gonna go for it, and hopefully we will be able to actually deal with this. And if we do get it, hopefully we'll get it right at the start of the game. Yeah, and we'll be okay about the mental trauma and everything. As I said earlier on, mental trauma sticks with you, so you can't get rid of it. We'll be stuck with it for the rest of the campaign. If she gets too much, then we're going to struggle to use her as an investigator. So this is quite a bad weakness. You know, some people have okay weaknesses that aren't too bad, but Jenny's got a very similar weakness actually. So we'll have to watch out for Jenny and for Zoe. But Zoe, she's an absolute star. I love playing Zoe. She just does not mess around. She kicks ass. So I've picked most of the cards that FFG recommend for her, but I've swapped a few out because I think, for example, you know, what does she need? She's given some cards by FFG and they're thinking solo. So they're thinking, oh, we'll give her a couple of cards that'll help her find clues. Well, we don't want her to find clues. We want Daisy to find clues. So I've swapped some things out and swapped more weapons in, basically. So she's really kick-ass. So that is Zoe. Next up, we have Daisy Walker. So here she is, the lovely Daisy, the librarian. She's got 3 willpower. She's got 5 intellect, which is huge. She's got 2 strength and 2 agility. Her trait is Miskatonic. You may take an additional action during your turn, which can only be used on tome action abilities. So that's cool as well. So let's get a lot of tomes into her hand if we can. Elder Sign effect is +0. Now for most people it's +1, but for her it's +0, so that's a bit grim, but never mind. If you succeed though, draw a card for each tome you control. So if she's got a lot of tomes, you know, if she's actually controlling them, as she's promoted them, then she could end up drawing quite a few cards. I know of books so powerful they can rewrite reality. Now she's got quite low health at 5, but she has got good sanity at 9, unlike her friend Zoe. So she's a lot more grounded, is Daisy. Daisy's the intellectual person who's going to go around, figure stuff out, while Zoe kicks butt. So let's flick her over. So here we are, Daisy Walker the librarian. Her deck size is 30 as well. Now she's a base game investigator, so she gets Seeker cards up to level 5, but her subclass is Mystic, so she can go to level 2 in Mystic cards, and neutral cards are fine 0 to 5. So you'll only ever see Seeker, Neutral and Mystic cards in her deck. You'll see a few different cards in Zoe's because she can have level 0 cards from any class. So you may see me move those around a bit in between scenarios. Deck building requirements. They do not count towards the deck size. We'll go through them shortly. It's Daisy's tote bag and the Necronomicon, but it's the John D translation. And she'll get a random basic weakness in a moment when we pull one. As a respected librarian at the Miskatonic University, Daisy had always felt that books were the most important thing in her life. She explored in fiction what she abhorred in life: horror, violence, fear. Then she stumbled across the John D translation of the Necronomicon. It was blasphemous, unholy and too awful to be real. But given her studies in obscure and occult subjects, Daisy knew there was more truth than fiction within the book's pages. She began to wonder what other secrets the restricted collection of the Orne Library held. Dun, dun, dun. So there she is, the lovely Daisy. So pop her back there. We'll go through her required cards. So first of all, we've got Daisy's tote bag. It's just basically a bag that she can stick her tomes in, because it's quite, books are very important to her. So it costs 2 to actually play. It's an asset. It has a willpower icon, an intellect icon and a wild card icon. It's an item. Daisy Walker deck only. You have 2 additional hand slots which can only be used to hold tome assets. So she could hold 3 tomes. Yeah, 1 in, well, probably 1 in 4. 1 in each hand and 2 in here. So pretty cool. So if she gets 4 books, we should be laughing, as long as the books aren't horrendous like the next one. Yes, she has the John D translation of the Necronomicon, so this is her weakness. The important thing to notice, and especially in this particular campaign, is this is the John D translation. Yes, so there are many different translations of the Necronomicon. She's got the John D one. Doesn't cost anything to play at all. It's an asset. It's a weakness. It's an item and tome. Revelation. So when it comes out, put the Necronomicon into play in your threat area with 3 horror on it. It cannot leave play while it has 1 or more horror on it. Treat each Elder Sign you reveal on a Chaos token as a Tentacle token, which is an auto fail. So, horrible. As an action, you can move 1 horror from the Necronomicon to Daisy Walker. Then, if the Necronomicon has no horror on it, you can discard it. So, to get rid of it, you take 3 horror. is the basic. It's not too bad. She does have 9 horror. If you watch what you're doing and manage her horror, we should be able to get rid of this. Yeah, so it's not too bad. Yeah, hopefully it won't cause us any major problems. Even if it's in our hand at the end of a particular scenario, we don't get any mental trauma or any of the cobblers that Zoe will get if she keeps her weakness. So that's pretty good. As regards her deck, again, I'll put a slide up at the end of this particular video, but mostly I'm playing to her strengths just like I'm playing to Zoe's strengths. So she's got quite a bit of investigation. So, well, you can see on the top there, she's got a flashlight to begin with. So she is going to be getting clues. The real reason why I've gone with her strengths, because she's got 5 intellect, which is good. That is good. Why am I piling extra intellect cards in? You know, 5 intellect should be enough. We definitely want to get through as quick as we can. Pick those clues up as quick as we can. The secret to getting through these scenarios is speed. I'm a great one in both Arkham Horror the board game, Eldritch Horror, Elder Sign, and Arkham Horror the card game. Speed. A lot of people underestimate dawdling. You dawdle around in any of these games and it bites you on the ass. That's why I don't do things like tasks in Eldritch Horror unless I can, you know, help it. If I'm doing something else and I can do a task or I can do one of those, you know, little run round the board things, then fine. However, I do not do them for a reason. If it takes too much time out of the game, I will ignore them, and it's exactly the same in the LCG. So speed is important. Speed is a time saver. The longer you stay playing a scenario or any of these Arkham Files games, the more time you are giving the game to defeat you, and it will defeat you. It's full of horrendous, horrible cards, and eventually it will grind you down. Speed is key. So I've upped her investigation to the max. We want to find clues, because clues, they drive the game. In order to go through the acts, which are what we want to get through, we want to get to the final act and we want to complete it, then clues are the way to go and do that. Similarly, the agenda, that is sort of for the game. The agenda is driven by doom. So at the end of every round, you get a doom. You can get cards that will add doom. The more doom you get, the quicker the agenda clicks over. You get to the end of the agenda and you haven't completed your acts, then you will lose. And something very nasty will happen. So I want to whiz through as quickly as possible, and the secret to that is gaining as many clues as quickly as possible. So those are the reasoning, that's the reasoning behind my deck building. But by all means, have a look at my decks when you have a look at the end of this video and have a good laugh at them. But do recall, I only have a single core game. Yeah, so I will not have 2 shrivelings and things like that, in case you were wondering. Yes, so the whole deck building ethos behind what I've done and the investigators that I choose, primarily for role-playing purposes, but I do try to make sure that my investigators mesh together well and they pick cards that can help each other out. Yeah, so they play to each other's strengths, but hopefully their strengths will help offset the other's weaknesses. That is the plan anyway. It may come, it may unravel spectacularly during the game, but that is the plan. Are there any other bits and pieces to mention before we actually get into the setup of the House Always Wins itself? I don't think... Oh, we've got to get the basic weaknesses. So what we'll do is we will pick these. These are the basic weaknesses. They get 1 each at the start of the campaign. So we'll do a crappy shuffle. And the weakness for our lead investigator, who is Zoe Samaras, is psychosis. Well, that's very thematic, is it not? So it's a treachery, psychosis, basic weakness, madness, revelation. Add psychosis to your threat area, so do that once it comes out. Forced. After you take one or more horror, take one direct damage. Then, in order to get rid of it, you just got to use 2 actions. So that's why, this is why you have things like I was just talking about, time is your enemy. And that's why they have cards like this. Oh, we'll get rid of 2 of your actions. You only have 3 a turn. So we'll get rid of 2 of your actions. You've got less time to finish the scenario. So all these are bad. That's okay. I quite like it. It's quite thematic for Zoe. So it's a bad one, but cool. So we'll put that. We'll shuffle that in. And we get Daisy Walkers. And she's got an internal injury. No, not Daisy. So another treachery. It's basic weakness. Revelation. Put internal injury into play in your threat area. Forced. At the end of your turn, take 1 direct damage. That is bad because her... I mean, psychosis is bad as well. This is like the health equivalent of psychosis, and they've gone to the very people that if we'd swap them over, it'd be a lot better, because Zoe has got loads of health and Daisy has got loads of sanity. So it'd be better if we'd swap these over, but that's the way it is. She's got internal injury. So as soon as we get this, we can't afford to take direct damage. Direct damage, by the way, means you cannot like sort of siphon it off on one of your allies. You've got to take it. So it looks like that will cost us 2 actions as well, because we do not want Daisy to lose any health, because she's only on 5 to start with. So that is her basic weakness. We'll pick the basic weaknesses for Jenny and Agnes and Wendy. If Wendy comes and does a scenario, we'll do those at the time. Okay, right. So what else do we need to go through in regards to the Dunwich Legacy? Well, campaign setup, we're actually going to do it on standard. So these are the chaos tokens we're going to use. We're going to use a +1, 2 zeros, 3 -1s, 2 -2s, a -3, a -4, 2 skull tokens, 1 cultist token, a tentacle token, and an elder sign. So those are the ones we're going to be using because we're doing standard. In addition to that, just to show you, they are all in there. So this is the chaos bag we'll be pulling out of. I'll put that over there. And we're doing the house always wins on easy and standard. So those skull tokens, they'll be -2. You may spend 2 resources to treat this token as a 0 instead. So if we actually have loads of resources, that could be pretty good. We've got a single cou'd cultist, that's -3, but if we succeed we gain 3 resources. Now there is a broken tablet here, -2. If you fail, discard 3 resources. We do not have a broken tablet in the bag. Some of the broken tablets and I think the Elder Thing tokens, they get added because of what you do in other scenarios. In fact, we may end up adding some in this scenario for the next scenario, but as it stands, because this is our first scenario, we do not have the broken tablet, so we can ignore that. But the cou'd cultist and the skull token, we will have a look at this should we pull them and see if we have passed our test. So put that over here in case we need to consult that at a later date. Then let's have a look at scenario 1B itself. So here it is, the house always wins. Dr. Armitage suggested you track down his associate, Dr. Francis Morgan. He's not sure whether Dr. Morgan is in trouble, but he's not particularly happy with his colleague's present choice of company. He's in the Clover Club, a notorious gambling joint somewhere downtown. Finding the club's exact location isn't easy. You have to grease a few palms just to learn which of the downtown restaurants operates the club's front. That restaurant is La Bella Luna, a somewhat upscale Italian eatery by the theatre. You change into your Sunday best and make your way there. In front of La Bella Luna stands a man in a pinstripe suit who sizes you up as you approach. Enjoy yourselves, he says with a snake-like grin as he holds open the restaurant's front door. So here is the setup. I've done all this. We've gathered all the cards from the following encounter sets. The house always wins, bad luck, Naomi's crew, rats. These sets are indicated by the following icons, so they're all in the Mythos deck. Set the Hideous Abominations and Striking Fear encounter sets aside out of play. These sets are indicated by the following icons. They're over there. Put the Clover Club Lounge, Clover Club Bar, Clover Club Card Room and La Bella Luna locations into play. Each investigator begins play in La Bella Luna. We're up there. And they're all in play. Set the following cards aside out of play. Darkened Hall, Peter Clover, Dr. Francis Morgan and each copy of Back Hall Doorway. We've done that. Shuffle the remainder of the encounter cards to build the encounter deck. And we've got a short note here. At the start of this scenario, Agenda 1A grants each criminal enemy the aloof keyword. That means they do not automatically engage you. Yep, which we'll have to remember. Which stops those enemies from automatically engaging you. Perhaps you should have just read on, Paul, instead of explaining. At some point, those enemies may lose the aloof keyword. Remember that enemies who are no longer aloof will automatically engage investigators at their location as per normal. Now the rest of this is like, do not read, so we will not read. So we've set that up, and here we have La Bella Luna, we have the Clover Club Lounge, we have the Clover Club Pit Boss. This chap is obviously in the speakeasy, and he's the guy who is he's going to be keeping tabs on everybody. Yeah, so we'll meet him when we start playing, but at the moment he's in the lounge. Up here we have the card room, and then we have the bar. We start La Bella Luna, which is sort of the Italian restaurant. We'll go through that at the start of next episode when we start play. And these white lines here, they just show you which way you can go around the club. Yeah, so you can't go directly from the Clover Club Bar to La Bella Luna, for example. You have to go through the Clover Club Lounge. So there we are. Right, what's next? Alright, so let's shuffle all these together. We'll pull some starting hands, then we'll go through the act and agendas. And get ready to start for the next episode. So I have to put up with my crappy shuffling. Whip. And here we go. And a cut. So we're going to pull 5 cards. Our first card is a 32 Colt. Put that over there. Second card is Zoe's Cross. Brilliant. Our third card is Leo DeLuca. That's fantastic. This is a good hand. And Dynamite Blast. Not so sure about Dynamite Blast. Might get rid of that. And Machete. We definitely want Machete. So we've got 2 weapons. We've got Zoe's Cross, Leo DeLuca. This is exactly the sort of stuff we want. We want to get her tooled up, and then she's ready to kill stuff. Now, I'm going to throw Dynamite back. I might get rid of this in future. It's just in there. It may come in useful later on. So I'm just going to discard it for now. We're going to mulligan this, put it to one side, and our 5th card is Beat Cop. Fantastic. So you'll see in this particular scenario, I've played this before, in this particular scenario it's quite good to have some allies. So, but you'll see that later on. So those are our 5 cards. We'll take Dynamite Blast and we'll shuffle that back in, and then we're ready to rock and roll. Another cut, so we will put that back there behind Zoe. In fact, we'll put it a bit further across. So there we go. So that is excellent. I'm very pleased with that particular draw. Yes, indeed. So those are her first 5 cards. Oh, what I'll do is her hand will be down here. You can have 8 cards in a hand, so we'll have a hand down here. If we put anything, if we promote anything, we'll put it along here, and just this bit here is the threat area. So anything comes to take Zoe on, we'll pop it on there. Okay, next up is the Hound for Daisy. So give this a rubbish shuffle as well. Make sure. One good thing about sleeved cards, although I don't particularly like them, it is quite easy to shuffle them together and get a good shuffle. They just slide past each other. Very good. So there we go. A cut. So her 5 cards are Emergency Cache, always useful. Research Librarian, another ally, brilliant. Medical Texts, this is a good one as well. We've only got a single medical text, as I say, we're playing single core, but to have something like this, it is a tome. So that is great for Daisy Walker. And another ally, Dr. Milan Christopher. Good. Now, the thing about these allies as well, there are damage soaks, and we need damage soaks for Daisy Walker. And 5th card is Deduction. So pop that there. Now, are we going to mulligan any of those? Well, if we've got Dr. Milan, let's just check. Research Librarian. I'm going to keep the Research Librarian because I want to get another tome. So I think we'll just get rid of Deduction and we'll take another card. Holy Rosary. That is good because that helps protect her sanity a little. She's got excellent sanity, but I gave her Holy Rosary. So we shall shuffle Deduction back in here. And yeah, pretty chuffed with those actual draws. That'll do. Perhaps a magnifying glass would have been good, but she has got medical text, and we can hopefully use Research Librarian to get an extra tome out as well. Let's just hope it isn't the Necronomicon. So pop that over here. So that is her hand. This is the Mythos deck. I won't draw this until we actually start playing the game, but I will give it a quick shuffle. It has been shuffled, but let's give it a quick shuffle as well, and another cut. So that's ready to go. We won't turn over La Bella Luna or anything like that until next episode, but we are ready to go. We've pulled our starting hands, quite chuffed with those will do. And we are ready to rock and roll. Shall I go through? No, we have got the Clover Club agenda and the Beginner's Luck Act card, but we will go through those the start of next turn, otherwise I'd just have to go through it again. But at least we have got our hands, we know who our investigators are, they are all set up, they've got all their resources, and we are ready to go. We've set up the board, that's up here, and everything is shuffled. Oh, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for all the views. Thanks for all the subscriptions. Thank you for all the likes and the dislikes. And thank you for all the help and support. If you've noticed me cock up on anything, then please let me know. And I'll try and fix it for episode 1. But other than that, I don't think there is anything else to go through. We'll go through, as I say, the actual act and agenda when we start next turn, and then we'll get straight into gameplay. Thanks for watching. I hope you join me for episode 1 of Arkham Horror, the card game, and the Dunwich Legacy. But until then, this is me, Catweazle, signing off. Toodaloo.